America's Mayor Live. And I have my team with me, and my team is getting ready to head back to New York. We had a nice interview today with a man who I don't know. He's kind of like a dean of journalism, particularly economic and business journalism. Although in the latter years, he's become one hell of a political reporter. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Lou Dobbs. So I was on with Lou. We did about a 20, 30-minute interview. He moves back and forth, I guess, between Washington and down here with Real America's Voice. And I was impressed with the studio. This is my second fairly lengthy interview with him since he started his new show. Because I was a fan of Lou when I was like you were, just a watcher. I thought he was one of the few people that could explain economics, Well, in any event, we had a great interview, and good luck to him with his new show. It looks like that they're going all out to make it a big success for a man who's as much of a patriot as anyone. I mean, when I say that, I mean at the very top. You see the young lady's picture. I'm probably resisting getting to it because my heart is broken. I think you do this also. Many of you do. I know Dr. Maria does, and Ted may do it a bit by speculating, sort of. For parents, the loss of a child is. I don't think I'm poetic enough. Should have taken a little more philosophy, maybe more theology. I don't know that I can explain what the loss of a child is. My grandmother used to explain it to me because my grandmother lost a child, one, in an era in which people lost sometimes 3 and 4. She came from there. She came from a family of, the grandmother I'm talking about came from a family of 22 children. Her old man, Vincenzo Stanchi, from Gesualdo, Italy, had 11 with one wife. The poor lady died of exhaustion, I imagine. That would be my great grandma. And then he had 11 children with a second wife. And my grandmother, who lived with us, and she was like my second mother, was the oldest of the clan, the oldest daughter, and operated more like his son. He was in a number of businesses. He was in the tavern business. He was in the tobacco business. He was in the livery business. He was in the Coney Island fire. He was in the Greenpoint fire when he lost his horses. He was quite an interesting guy. We're going to, we'll have time to talk about those on some of the specials we do on Confidential. So as I give you some of the history and background of New York, I was going to say before it goes under, but hopefully we're going to prevent that. But let's get to this now. Laken Riley, I hope for her, I'm sure she's in a very, very happy place. This seemed like a very fine young lady, and anybody that wants to be a nurse, come on. It's a hard job, and by the time you're into it a bit, I mean, she's already done work. You realize how difficult the job is. Is a good person. You can look at that face. Look at that smile, Ted. She reminds me of several people that I know, including one person I really care for deeply. And I thought President Trump was truly eloquent yesterday when he talked about talking to the family. And, I do share that with him a lot, meaning, although obviously it's a different level, but in some ways, maybe a more personal one. I had to do that a lot for people who work for the city. And I'm not talking about September 11th. I lost, well over 100 city employees in the line of duty in my 8 years. Roughly equal number of police officers and firefighters, and then occasional sanitation workers, correction officers, teachers who die on the line of duty. But mostly police and fire. And for me, it was a family thing because my uncles were policeman, and my other uncle was a firefighter. And so do we have any, the other thing that has, I don't want to introduce anger into this, because I'd like this to be beautiful, to think about this beautiful girl and to give her family the hope that this is going to make a difference for America, because America has embraced her, even though the media is trying hard to wipe her out. I've been searching, Ted, Google. I don't find anything. I'm not the best, so maybe you'll find something. I don't find anything in the Times on her funeral. I don't find anything in the. I mean, they covered the death. You know, they don't. They just.
Well, how? Well,
It
how?
wasn't private for the local stations in. It wasn't private for the local stations. They covered it.
The George Floyd funeral, I'm guessing, was covered wall to
It
wall.
wasn't private for the Daily Mail of England. It wasn't private for many local stations. And
But how cynical of the Biden administration on the day of the funeral. This was on. I don't believe this was on accident. They mention a George Floyd police legislation. They're doing that to try and keep as much attention away from Laken Riley, because this sort of
you
thing.
can't possibly compare Laken Riley and George Floyd. What do they want to do? Really destroy this family? I mean, Laken Riley was a young lady, as far as we know, of unblemished reputation, with a very ennobling desire to help people by being a nurse. The other guy was a danger to children, to his family, to the community. He died. We thought he died because of what the policeman did to him. We later found out he died of a heart attack. Of course, he had some incredible amount of fentanyl in his system. But in any event, today is about her. This hurts so much because we can't escape the fact it did not have to happen. And we can find the people who are responsible for it very easily. Ibarra, the animal, as Trump correctly described his group of people in 2015, and was beaten up by the phony press that still exists and tries to bury this story, by the way. The animal came to New York with a phony wife and child. He got caught endangering a minor. Who knows how many other crimes he and his brother committed in New York? We don't know. Since New York has a law that says you don't turn criminals into ICE. Yeah. Mm-hmm. New York has such a law. They didn't turn him in. So step number one, if New York had followed federal law, the guy would have been on a detainer in jail. In the many places we created when I was in the Reagan administration to protect America from the Marielitos, because Ronald Reagan protected America, Joe Biden endangers Americans. So he then goes to Georgia, ends up in Athens, Georgia. And there he starts committing crimes. And there he also is not reported to ICE. He doesn't show up for a hearing. He's still not put in prison. Because lo and behold, Athens is as bad or worse than New York because it has a university. I mean, why should a city or town that have a university be insane? I mean, are universities insane? They don't turn them in. And it turns out that they are really rabid about this. They have a guy who ran for sheriff. Here he is, John Williams, who actually ran on, I'm going to make us a sanctuary city, defined as we're not going to turn people into ICE because we want to be friendly to them. Oh, they were very friendly to Mr. Ibarra. Unfortunately, Mr. Ibarra was not very friendly to decent, innocent human beings. He was a craven murderer. Williams, you're an idiot. You don't belong in law enforcement. And if you don't resign, somebody should go take that badge and shove it up your. You're a disgrace. And your mayor, wow. I mean, I have seen right-wing lunatics, left-wing lunatics, and right-wing lunatics. I've rarely seen a guy that is as moronic and idiotic as that guy. And he looks the part too. You take one look at him and you know you're going to have a jerk ball on your hands. And he's talking about how you can't conflate. You can't conflate border crossings and with violent people who come in across the border with violent crimes. Oh, you can't? Well, how about, what about this one, pal? You want to conflate that one and stick it down your throat? So this place has got to be low down, because here's one I don't believe. The prosecutor there, who's at the county level, like this crazy sheriff and nutty mayor, has been in office since 2020. And she had to give up the case because she's never won a conviction. Now, I think that's wrong. It's in the newspapers. I can't imagine, how can you be in a place, a university town where you're going to have at least in a university town, I don't care what kind of university, you're going to have drunken brawls, and she has never gotten a conviction. I mean, maybe they mean personally trying the case. Can't be that her whole office has never convicted anybody in 21, 22, 23, in 3.5 years. You know what our conviction rate was? 90-something%. Like if we lost a case, it was like, oh my goodness, how do we do that? Doesn't have a conviction. So she had to go out and get a special prosecutor. I mean, Georgia has got to be in trouble, huh?
Well,
or you watch this crazy prosecutor. You see Fat Fanny, and you listen to her, and you think of the shenanigans she's involved in, including stealing campaign money. So, is that her?
This is Deborah Gonzalez, Athens-based Democrat district attorney.
Of course. I didn't have to tell you that, did I?
Took office in 2021, pledging not to prosecute certain crimes.
She didn't.
She now, this is in the spring, this is a story from 2023. She was sued, alleging high turnover, procedural missteps, and other failures with high-profile cases, signaling that she ultimately is unable and unwilling to do her job. This a lawsuit in March of 2023. According to this appears to be PBS Georgia.
Well, I mean, here's the paragraph from the Post, and if it's wrong, please correct me. Meanwhile, Athens Clark District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez removed herself from the case amid criticism that she's failed to secure a single guilty verdict since her election in 2020.
2020? It's 2024.
Oh, right. I said 23. It's 4 years.
That's what?
Oh, what's a year between incompetent DAs?
No, but that's shocking.
Gonzalez, a Democrat, appointed veteran attorney Sheila Ross as special prosecutor. I wonder if she did like a big money contract with her.
What? Why do you need a special prosecutor for this? It's a clear cut, right? Like this is why we have district attorneys, right, Mayor?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, and it's not exactly like being the U.S. attorney in California,
Southern District in New York,
or District of Columbia, or Southern District, where you have thousands of very, very difficult cases, and you have to manage people.
This is nuts.
I mean, this is. I got to look into that more though, because it's just kind of
seems too hard to believe.
It's just kind of crazy. But when you listen to it, you really want to do I know it probably would get me in trouble, but I really think we should do a wanted poster for for Williams the sheriff, for Grits the
we have that coming, by the way.
and who in New York? Adams. We do Adams in see Adams.
Well,
Adams has now positioned himself. Adams wants to change the sanctuary law now. So he's gone to the city council and said, I want to change the sanctuary law. City council says, go to hell. Adams says, okay. I go away. I'll go away. There's nobody there to tell him, Mayor, you don't have to follow the law. It may be hard for you. I know there's called complex thinking, but the law is illegal. See, it contradicts federal law. And when a state law contradicts a federal law, it's preempted. That actually is a legal proposition defined in the statutes and defined in the opinions of judges. You'll be very safe when you say to your police department, who would love to do this, they love doing it for me, take this son of a, and take him to ICE. And ICE would love to get their hands on him. I did this all the time. And I very, very effectively managed what I got from immigration. What that meant was when I was the mayor, we had about 400,000 illegals in New York. The immigration service in New York alone, but you could throw in New Jersey, and we could deport between 2,000 and 4,000 people a year. So I want you to think about that, right? I'm getting, no matter what they do, no matter how good they are, I got 396 illegals, 96,000 illegals in New York. So I wanted to do two things. First, I wanted to make sure that I used those spots. Those spots were precious. That I used those spots for the worst people. I also, because look, it was easier for me. I used to run them. So, and I also wanted to do a deal with them. Some people I didn't want them to deport. Some I wanted to put in jail for the rest of their lives, because I'm going to deport them. And like the guy who killed Kate in 10 years ago, the guy went back and forth 5 times. They should have taken him one time and put him away for life. Look, it's worth paying for it. So you got to make like intelligent decisions beyond these people. Their ideology makes it impossible. So this woman died because of Democratic idiot, pro-criminal, pro-illegals policies. And the guy at the top of the wanted poster should be Joe Biden. Right there, right at the top. And then a little picture of Mayorkas. Maybe we grab Mayorkas. I'll do his questioning, see if I can flip him. I haven't flipped somebody in a long time, Dr. Maria. He's as tough as the mafia guys I flipped. No, I don't think so. I don't torture them. Honest. Would I do that? No, I wouldn't. So do we have any, I'm going to take a break at this point, but I'm going to see if you have any film of the funeral or something said about her that we can repeat. Maybe we'll do it at the end if you'd like. Ted? Which is that end, or?
We'll get something by the end of the show. We'll have something.
So when we come back, we'll be on a different subject.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I need to know. Thank you. And we will be right back. You can see who really runs this show. Okay.
Celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
MyPillow.com, promo code Rudy. Go and order. They got great stuff. Order because you're going to get great products. You're going to get a great price. He gets you the best price you can get. You're going to help a guy who's a patriot. You're going to help a guy they tried to crush. You're going to help him not get crushed. You're going to stand up for the right thing, and you're going to show that we conservatives can stick together. And we do stick together because we're fighting for the right thing. I don't know where they come up with their ideas. I don't. Yes, I do. Karl Marx had an interesting conversation with Jimmy today. I got to get Jimmy on this show. Think he goes to bed early? He's probably an elderly man. He's probably my age.
Oh. He's been calling in the radio shows. He's famous.
He's famous. He's famous in New York, but he is a true self-taught expert on the history of the Communist Party.
He's always got great little tidbits, nuggets,
and also connections.
And like he ties things together well.
Even Biden had some communist instruction. Now, I told him not to take it seriously because Biden would have retained it.
Yeah, well, but it's scary. Jimmy from Brooklyn's been on to something for 30, 40 years.
He probably spells communist with one M. That would be my guess. So the border showdown yesterday. Oh, we should have had, some music. Chorale music.
No, something like the Western.
Somebody equated it to the Alamo. They said Biden lost the Alamo again. This contrast, gosh, if you're a Trump supporter, you want this contrast every day from now until the election.
Yeah.
I told Lou at the end of his show, he's free to use it. Doesn't even have to credit me because I think this is generic. I said, here's the best way to describe it. You had on the same split screen the problem, the solution. Right? Every single thing that is going on now was not going on when that man left office on the other side of the screen. The numbers were down to the lowest numbers ever. Now, it is true that Trump had some bad years at the beginning. Bad. Forget it. Those years were fabulous compared to this guy. He had an 800,000 year. His first year was 1.8 million. Biden's first year. But, Trump is a guy that if at first you don't succeed, try again, like I was. A couple of things I had to do 5 times before I got them right. And so then he also puts together a great fentanyl task force. I'm not biased because my son was part of it, but I am. Because I used to find out a lot about it. And Andrew used to get a lot of, I don't like to interfere. I was his lawyer. I didn't want to interfere with policy, but through my son, I could give them some ideas. I do know a little about drug enforcement. And man, they got off to a great start. And I also gave him some tips on the Mexican police because I worked with them for 2 years with Bernie Carrick, and they're not all bad. Sometime I'll tell you the tactic we used with them that worked beautifully. We went and found the honest ones, and we rewarded them. We paid them more for being. We gave them bonuses for being honest. You say, well, you shouldn't have to do that. You got to do what you got to do. And we got crime down. We got crime down 12%, then 11%. Then we got fired by Fox because we were making the mayor look too good. Yeah. And that mayor is now the president of Mexico. And
you were fired by Vicente Fox. I want to clarify Vicente Fox, the president.
If Biden needs somebody to go convince the president of Mexico, stay in Mexico might not be a bad way to end your administration. I have a few street creds with him.
Mayor, does this video inspire confidence that The border is secure. Maybe we can get your play-by-play. What is Joe Biden talking about here? People can hear you as we play this clip.
What is he talking about?
Well, this is Joe Biden at the border here. This is him yesterday.
It looks like he's inspecting a nursing home.
Well, it's just B-roll of walking.
This is like when the family takes the poor old man who has to go in the nursing home to the nursing home so he picks one out. Yeah, that'd be a nice place for you, Joe. We'll build a little tent. What could they possibly be telling him? You know what they're telling him? We used to have a lot of people coming in here, but Abbott put up this wire stuff that you went to the Supreme Court to take down, and we're down to like 3-4 a week now. And that's why you're safe here. Also, you are. We heard, Mr. President, I don't know how straight this guy is, but he was in Texas. I know.
Watch his arm.
We heard, Mr. President, that you're basically a complete coward and inveterate sissy. So we took you to the safest part of Texas.
Now, did you see his arm, Mayor? Did he need to be propped up? Did he hang on to this guy's? Watch Joe Biden's arm here.
Well, every step looks like a struggle.
Watch his arm. Look at this. Is that him? He needs to be held up, or is he just saying hi?
I would never go to his doctor. His doctor described him as robust.
Healthy, active, and robust. This guy.
We should put this out. This is the quintessential picture of a robust man. Look at this. Look at this.
I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's funny that they've been able to like.
You know they all hate him.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when he did the thing with the lasso and he said they all were going to have to pay?
Yeah.
For what they didn't do, and he never apologized?
He never apologized for that, did he?
Neither did Mayorkas. So Abbott described Biden as going to a sanitized location, and Trump went to the heart of the action. And Trump actually got to see illegal migrants and how it works. He also got to see how the wire works. Now, the tip of the Lone Star Spear is Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. And after Abbott secured that area that Biden is in and is very safe now, he moved over because they wanted to try it at an easier place. He went to one of his two worst places, Eagle Pass. He put the wire in and took possession of the park. So you can't get in the park without the police letting you in. And Biden went to court, and the Supreme Court incorrectly ruled that the federal government can take the wires down. That's about a month ago, Ted. Maybe longer.
I would say that was at least a month ago.
You want to show Trump? Want to see the wires? Pussy, the coward in the White House, hasn't touched the wires. He was all intent on taking those wires down.
Wow.
He realizes if he takes the wires down, it's going to be like a physical demonstration that the Republicans are trying to stop people by having the wires up. And you're taking the wires down so they can come in. I wish somebody would tell people that he distorts and corrupts the office of being a Border Patrol agent by having them assist people in coming in illegally.
Yeah.
They are now, the Mexican cartel regards our Border Patrol as escorts for illegal immigrants.
Crazy.
And tell them that. Tell them you'll get a lot of help from the Border Patrol. And within 2-3 days, you'll be in a nice city. And if you can get to New York, then within a short period of time, you're going to have a $1,000 a month cash card that they say you have to use for food, but they don't check on it.
Here's the two.
And they don't do anything honest in New York anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
Here's the two short video of the two men at the border yesterday. Should we play it?
Please.
I love that, man. I love some of my Neanderthal friends who still think there's no climate change. Well, my administration is going to keep building on the progress we've made fighting climate crisis, and we're going to keep help.
Did he just say about climate change? Does he know where he is? What the hell is he talking about? These people are coming because of climate change.
Crazy.
How many screws are loose? Yeah, please. I mean, I don't know what we have to do to prove to people he's.
I love that, man. I love some of my Neanderthal friends who still think there's no climate change. Well, my administration is going to keep building on the progress we've made fighting climate crisis, and we're going to keep help folks rebuild themselves.
Just 1 week ago, a beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia was barbarically attacked, almost unrecognizable, while she was out on her morning run. She was a morning run. She was doing keep herself in shape. She was a beautiful young woman. She was a great person, best nursing student there was. I spoke to her parents yesterday. They're incredible people. They're devastated beyond belief. But she was beautiful, just so beautiful in so many ways, and brutally assaulted, horrifically beaten, kidnapped, and savagely murdered. The monster that charged in the death is an illegal alien migrant who was led into our country and released into our communities by crooked Joe Biden. He's crooked. I took the name away.
I'm going to tell you from probably more experience with this, like the personal part, because a president usually writes letters, and it's rare that a president has the time to go to the homes of the soldiers who were killed, because it's all over the country. But I followed the tradition. I didn't invent it, but not every mayor did it. But I followed the tradition of the good mayors of New York who had a heart. And I went to the home when I could, and when they wanted me there, they weren't in like shock, but most of the homes. And I went to the wake and funeral for every one of my police officers and firefighters who died in the line of duty, even some others that didn't die in the line of duty, but it was a terrible death. And then the same thing for other city workers. But the vast majority, obviously, was the firefighters and police officers. And since my first 2 years, I inherited a city with 2,000 murders a year. You can imagine how many funerals I had. I think my first one, I was 6 days in office.
Really?
Yeah, I was in office one day, and I had a group of people take over a mosque in Harlem, and my police commissioner didn't want to go in. He said they have sanctuary. I said, hey, Bill, you're a policeman and I'm a lawyer. Do you know when sanctuary disappeared as a legal defense in doctrine? No. How about the 16th century?
Bill Griffin.
And he said, well, I'm going to be very uncomfortable doing it. I said, well, that's really good. I figure we got to get it straight right at the very beginning. I said, good. You don't want to do it? Leave. I'll go find somebody else to be police commissioner. You only been on the job 6 days.
But you went and did it.
He did it, yeah.
Huh. Stayed for a few more years.
Yeah, he did a good job. He did a good job.
After that.
Didn't do his good job there. He didn't. Yeah.
Well, I know people that were with the LAPD, so it's fun.
He'll tell you. He didn't have the backing of the mayor.
Ah.
No, he'll tell you. You can't do
That
it.
was a crazy time too in LA.
There are good things about Bill, and there are really some horrible things about him, like the lies that he tells. But he told me straight out. I mean, I always knew I had to have your backing to do it because, and the guy here is a flake.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen because this is going to go nowhere. All that stuff about Biden wanting legislation is a complete insult to the American people. He did all of this with a pen. He signed executive orders overruling the executive orders signed by the guy who really was a president. Two probably covers 80% of it. Stay in Mexico. He reversed it within a day. That's about 60 to 70% difference immediately. The second one, Article 42. Now that took a little longer. What is that? That was a COVID provision for emergencies, which said basically you can just throw somebody out. If you got bad feeling, you throw them out. I mean, remember, you get all these liberal nitwits who say you have a right to asylum. You have a right to come in. You don't have any right to come into the United States. Like you have no right to come into my house. It's not your house. It's not your country. You got to do things to earn it. Now, if you're born here, you're lucky. But if you're not, you got to do something to earn it. Because we want productive, good, solid citizens that are going to help us make a better life for ourselves and our children. We don't want a bunch of bums and criminals. And that's what we're getting right now. And that idiot Congressman Garcia says you're a racist if you say that. You're a racist if you don't say it. Because then you're a liar. And I see the New York, the Wall Street Journal, rather, has a column, the usual liberal horseshit. Well, you know, it's always been true. For decades, there are studies. God, studies, please. There are studies that say that immigrants commit fewer crimes than Americans. Well, first of all, are they legal or illegal immigrants? We got to start with that, okay? And if they're illegal immigrants, are they the ones that came in the 70s, into the 80s, when they were mostly all Mexican coming in for work? The truth is, I know that. When I had to reduce crime in New York, I had to study it much, much more than any phony newspaper man or dilettante. I had to study the statistics in depth, and I had to be right about it because I was wrong. I was going to fail. And I determined that, yes, they were more peaceful. Not by a lot. It's not as if they're angels. So that's why I came up with the policy of let me focus on the career criminals among them and let me treat the others in a humane way and hope that immigration finally gets to them and help immigration when they need that help. Because if I just keep flooding people in there, they're going to be throwing out a mother and I'm going to have the drug dealer because they don't know the difference. I know the difference because I have the police department, and a great one. So that's why it works so well. And my immigration program helped me reduce crime in the city. Now, put that aside. This is a different group of immigrants. You can't use studies from then or analogies of that or any of that crap. First of all, they're not all Mexican by any means. Second, they're coming from all over the world. About a third of the places, we don't even know where the hell they're coming from. Third, there's no question they're being let out of jails. Maduro is doing it big time. Crime has even gone down in Argentina. And every Latin American country now is seeing that, watching Pussy Boy in the White House and saying, yeah, let me get rid of my insane asylums. Now, you can't dispute what I'm saying because we don't vet them. And you can't dispute what I'm saying because the ones that we pretend to vet with 4 questions, we don't know anything about. But the ones that are gotaways and the ones we never see, we don't even make a phony attempt to vet. How can you tell me I'm wrong? And then you see what they do. And isn't it better to assume what I'm assuming than, oh, they're all wonderful people. I mean, like Mr. Ibarra just wanted some places where he could find girls to rape. When Trump said in 2015 that they were animals, Trump was predicting and was ahead of his time. And he wasn't really ahead of his time. He said it based on, I know the case. That's actually when I decided to help him. I said, this is unfair what they're doing to this man. I mean, the guy has raised an issue. These people are too stupid to see. But they didn't pay attention to the MS-13 people who came to, I think it was Islip, New York, grabbed 3 or 4 young girls, chopped their heads off and left them on the beach and say, we run the place now. I wanted to go back into law enforcement, get a posse and go get them. And I don't tell you what I wanted to do. I mean, come on. And when I heard that spirit from him, I said, that's what we need. That's what we need. We need somebody who's going to be honest and not this crap about they're coming here because of the poem on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. They haven't the foggiest idea. They have the fight what the statue is. They have a fight what the statue is. They don't know the poem. They don't know English. They have no idea of freedom, and they're damn good at knifing it. So let's cut it out and let's protect ourselves. And let's now pass laws like, we've wanted to do this for a long time. I am perfectly comfortable, but nobody else will be, giving them 3 months to change the laws. And then if they don't turn people in, putting them in jail. The mayor, police commissioner, not the individual cops. Okay, Mayor Adams, I explained to you the preemption doctrine. You're violating your oath of office. You're violating federal law. You're obstructing justice. You're getting your people killed, and you're getting people like in Athens, Georgia killed. You were a material part of that murder. Yeah, but I'm trying to get it changed. I said, no. You're not supposed to follow it. The New York City Council is a lawless body anyway. You know that. You know they're all, well, you know. Now he's in a bit of trouble, right? He got, what was this, his second aide who's getting searched by the FBI? I guess Biden is keeping the pressure up on him.
Yeah, we'll see how much. We haven't heard him complaining too much about the White House in recent months.
They put his tail right under his legs and whatever. So we'll be back very, very shortly. And we'll go over a couple of those stories that they're going to try to keep from you. And then we're going to talk about how interesting the Fat Fanny story has become, and a little bit about the complexities of Ukraine and Russia, which I'm going to do something bigger on, but I'm going to give you a little taste of it. But I think this is a big, big decision. It's going to get made before Trump. And we've got to see, is there a way we can shape it in somehow? Because it's going to affect our future quite a bit. I think it's a much more impactful decision than you think. Well, we'll be back very, very shortly.
Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
And we're back.
There are the 2 people who should be on that should be a wanted poster. 2 thieves in Georgia stole state, probably federal money. This is the worst crime they committed. They indicted Rudy Giuliani. What kind of creeps would do that?
For not doing anything wrong.
Well, what's the point? For not doing anything wrong, for being a lawyer, for doing my damn job. Well, first thing, let's talk. We're going to get to that at the conclusion of this part. But first we're going to tell you about the bull, the Wall Street bull.
Oh.
Do you guys know the Wall Street bull? The Wall Street bull is down at the tip of original Manhattan, where originally settled by the Dutch. And the bull, which I always thought was I must say, I always thought it was like an invitation to a disaster, and it has had quite a few disasters. But this also really, really hurts me because they wrote anti-Semitic things on it. This is a Jewish city. I mean, when I say it's a Jewish city, of course, it's an everything city. But one of the sort of romances about New York is that it's a Jewish city. Now, Italians will say it's an Italian city. And if you see all the cops and the firefighters in the St. Patrick's Day parade, which is coming up, they'll say it's an Irish city. And they'll say it's a Polish city.
What about the Puerto Ricans?
Puerto Rican city.
Hispanic city.
How about Dominican Republic now? Now it's a multitudinous Hispanic. It's an Asian city.
Asian.
But I mean, one of its traditions is it's a Jewish city. And a lot, we got a lot from that. Like we got a lot from the Irish and the Italians, and we're friends. I mean, this idea of anti-Semitism in New York. I mean, we grew up together. I grew up particularly in a neighborhood of Italian, Irish, Jewish. I don't think there was anybody. If it was something else, we didn't know what it was. We had to learn it later on. Italian, Irish,
What,
Jewish.
Brooklyn?
Well, no, in Brooklyn it was Italian Irish. When I moved out to Garden City South, it was Italian Irish Brooklyn, and I went to North Belmore. It was actually more even Jewish. And the friends I grew up with were all Jewish. One of my best friends, his father was a dentist, and we used to play in his house. He used to play in my house. I mean, they wrote down "Free Palestine," "Kill Israel," "Kill Jews," all this crap. Look at it. You can see it. See it right there? Everybody see it?
Yep.
Does it show the mark? And they may not be able to see the mark. Oh, by the way.
The nose. Look at the nose.
Yeah, they tried to make his nose ugly. They got to see also the guy on top dressed up as a Hasidic Jew, carrying Palestinian flags to mock them. And then they marched to City Hall and all got arrested.
Oh, good.
And then Brad got them and they all got public service awards. What do you think they're talking about here? How much cash do I get today?
Mhm.
You want a G?
You want a G? 2 G's. Two.
They say they get getting
two G's. Come on.
If he said to get a G, he's getting $1,000.
So there's a lot.
Is $1,000. Did you know that, Mayor?
I did. I had forgotten, but I was reminded by. I was reminded by Fani.
Well, I thought a K would have been 1,000, right? 1K is 1,000, but I guess the letter G.
When I'm doing something, 20K, 10K.
Yeah, 10K. And anyways.
All right. Well, there have been a couple of studies out. Here's another one. There was one yesterday we talked about. Here's another one that this guy, Professor Richard H. Ebright, Rutgers University molecular biologist, says that the China virus may actually have been man-made in China, Wuhan Institute of Virology. Actually, this is like silly. It's much stronger than this. It's evidence found in a 2018 document from the lab that talked of making such a virus. But this is the part that is really dramatic. The document elevates the evidence provided by the genome sequence from the level of noteworthy to the level of smoking gun. So, and this was written in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and the report now is repeated in the Post, and it explains a little bit more like I can understand it why, which maybe when we do Uncovering the Truth, if you'd like to, on Sunday, you might explain to people in 5 easy minutes that only you can do. Okay? But I mean, what this means is that Trump was right from the beginning. Do you remember when he called it the China virus and they wanted to put him in jail for being a racist?
For being a xenophobe.
Where the hell did it come from? And viruses, by the way, up until then, were all named from the place they came from.
Lyme disease.
I mean, I think he'd have been happy with Wuhan virus too.
China.
China.
Where's Hunter?
Hunter was in front of the committee. You know, they missed a couple of the really great things. You know, Hunter identified the hard drive after all this time. He said, yeah, that's a message from the hard drive. Yeah, that's a message from the hard drive. Yeah. I mean, I went through hell.
Yeah, what about all the lying? All the times he said it wasn't his.
He sued me on the idea that I created. I created it somehow.
We gotta call
Costello and I.
Lou on the phone.
That's one of the things we got out of the testimony. He song and dance about the big guy. He sort of admitted that Joe is the big guy. But the committee, in what I would consider an F in cross-examination and lawyer-like preparation, did not confront him with the 5 that I know of on the hard drive where you can prove that Joe is the big guy without any extraneous evidence. What I mean by that is going back to 2010 or 2012, there are notations there of his father being referred to as the big guy. In fact, one campaign contributor sends him a note, and we'll dig it out for tomorrow if it's that important. You know, a lot of this stuff. But it says, your father spoke at the something, something, something. He said, the big guy did a good job. And this is a college friend of his. Then there's another reference to
Let's bring it up.
the big guy from another, I think from one of his brothers, right? There are 4 separate references to the big guy on the drive, which is why I thought they put too much weight on Bobolinsky as the guy who identified the big guy, because you need Bobolinsky. The hard drive is self-identifying. You can create your own bibliography or your own dictionary. Big guy, let's go back. Who are they referring to as big guy? Biden. Bernie and I did that right away because we're very good at what we do. So when he gave us trouble on big guy, if he gave me trouble on big guy, by the time I finished with that cross-examination, he'd have been going looking for his pusher. Maybe we found out who he is. But the big guy is obviously Joe. Now, here's the other thing that has always driven me nuts, and you know it. There is a dynamite text message. There are 2, actually, but I'm only going to use this one right now. It ends the whole case. It explains the RICO theory better than anything. Maybe they don't understand RICO. I mean, these guys are not, well, maybe they don't understand RICO. Can we put that up on the board? This is a text. You had it up there a minute ago.
Okay.
This is a text. This is a text. Well, that one there, that's the one they're talking about here. This is Gillies to all of the other criminals involved. And it says,
Breakdown. Who are those people, Mayor?
Hunter,
H's,
RW, Walker,
JG, Gillian,
that was James Gillies,
TB. Somebody, is it TB? Is that a Biden?
Yeah,
Tony Bobolinsky.
Oh, Tony Bobolinsky.
Jim. You know Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
He made
an appearance. And then H holding for the big guy.
And look at that. That adds up to 100%. It's almost as if this is how they break down their little payouts, right?
Now, of course, a lot of these people didn't know the internal arrangement which was 30 years old.
Oh, how do we know it's 30 years
For
old?
some reason, they hide this from you.
This
You wrote it.
to remind us who this text is from.
Just like
This
these,
is Hunter.
just like these text messages that are coming out from that Bradley guy. You know, yeah, they were lovers before. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And then now he's lying about it. These text messages are evidence. They're admissions.
Yeah.
Now let's read it. You read it, Ted. My voice is getting funny.
Save that voice. This is from Hunter to a family member. I love all of you, but I don't receive any respect, and that's fine, I guess. Works for you, apparently. Hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary.
This is the reason why that little crumb bum Eric is all around, moving money around constantly. This is the reason why you see things like Hunter paying rent for his own house to his father. Who the hell does that? This is why you see all these strange transactions, like the loans that have no loan documents, or the numerous accounts here in America, and you have no idea how many are overseas. The deal was Hunter, James, Hunter's wife, and a few others acted as bagmen. Joe, they were selling Joe. They got nothing else to sell. They're selling Joe. From the very beginning, Joe got 50%, handled carefully. So he had, as James said, plausible deniability, right? Those are James' words. And they would stash the money away from him and at appropriate times get it to him. Also making his life beautiful because he didn't have to pay for anything. They paid for the houses. They paid for everything they could. Example, Hunter paid for his youngest sister's education, college education, entire education. Now, how many brothers do that with a father who's successful? I mean, not well, he is rich, actually. But that was a way of doing that. And then you're going to see a lot of texts from Eric Schwerin. Oh, send me the 2,000 for the shutter. Send me the 2,500 for the this, for the that. We're talking about expenses for the house now. So I do not know why that isn't used. And I'd love to have gotten his explanation for that. What is that? Was he lying? I mean, how much is it? I mean, does it all? And it also all makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it all? It like in a trial, you tell the jury, use your common sense. And at the end of this trial, I can just see it all comes together. For 5 years, people have been saying, who's stupid enough to pay Hunter Biden $5 million? Who's stupid enough to put $1 billion in a Hunter Biden equity firm? Who's dumb enough from Moscow to give him 3.5 million? Who's crazy enough to give him and his Devon Archer friend a salary of $2 million a year for not even showing up at board meetings? Maybe after you go through all of that, with a modicum of common sense, you say it really was for something else. Oh, now what's hanging around the house that they could want it? What were they selling? Widgets? Like special widgets? Yeah.
Well, we know what they weren't selling.
Oh, you think they were selling fruits?
No way.
And
no, they're not. That's too honest. Too honest of a living. If
Dr.
you're selling the great
Dr. Howard to throw them out on their backside. Dr. Howard is one of the nicest and best men you've ever seen. I'll tell you, and he's doing a lot of good for people, including Rudy, who had extras. This is a whole new one now. I opened a new one because I took too many. I don't think I did. I'm going to call him and find out if I took too many. But my cold is feeling much better, and now I'll go back to New York and I'll get a cold again.
Well, we're just going. Well,
we're going
we
back.
won't throw away our movements too much, but we won't be there forever.
But we'll be. we'll be there for the Super Tuesday thing, and who knows?
It's actually,
We
that'll
might
be
make a
nice.
little. We'll see.
A lot of states.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a short break here.
Yeah.
So we can get into our last 5 story, and then we'll go to the little group you see back there. Fanny, Fat Fanny.
Our device is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
TV
so
subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it and I use it, and it's good. I mean, it's great. It's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
Thank you very much for coming back. And before I do it, I have to express my appreciation to my partners here for taking over. I think it started on Monday night, if I'm not mistaken, or Tuesday night. I just couldn't do the show because my fever had me, and I was lying down not too far from it. I couldn't hear what they were saying. And I knew they would do them well because I have great confidence in them. But I also have to tell you, I've never had a doctor as good as Dr. Maria. She's always right. Doctors have all different skills. She's a terrific diagnostician. She picks up the littlest things, and quickly has things that at an early stage can. Well, we'll go into it sometime. I'll interview her, and we'll go through her career because she's a nurse practitioner and a PhD in hospital management. But as a nurse practitioner, she did all the things a doctor does. Plus, she prescribes medicine. So she's a doctor, and she did emergency medicine, which I always think sharpens your skills more than any other form of medicine. You got to make quick decisions.
Under the gun.
Yeah.
Under pressure.
Yeah. The last thing that was excluded that is driving me crazy will take us right into our next subject, which is the 2 crooks here. And look, they should have arrested her when she said this. This is complaint time, arrest time, search time. Sounds an awful lot like a crime. You better have a hell of an explanation for this one. But
whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell.
We'll play it one more time for those that missed.
yeah, I couldn't get that.
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell.
I took out a large amount of money from my first campaign, and I kept a lot of cash of that. I heard that live. I always think as a lawyer, I said, wow, they're going to destroy her with that. They never. I don't think anybody questioned her about it, Ted.
I still haven't heard, and we got a great lawyer down there. I wanted to touch
I think
base.
we're going to ask him to put it in the brief. Let's call him tomorrow and ask him to put it in the brief. The judge has to consider that. I also think the judge has to have a hearing on that. He has to have a hearing on what that means, because that should be referred for criminal prosecution.
It's crazy. That's a lot. That is a. Most likely. And
They're
again,
too, I mean, they're too,
let her explain herself, right?
but it also, you know what it does is it makes it makes the stealing of the other money more credible, right?
Yeah.
Because she's a thief. Were they stealing the money, the extra money they were generating of prosecuting us innocent people in order to have a high old time and have sex all over the place and cheat on his wife? And were they using that cash for that purpose, which would be stealing it? Now, I know they did something that also isn't focused on it. She did a second grand jury. She didn't do just one grand jury. I never heard of a second grand jury. I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. Why did I go testify before a grand jury that can't indict me, can't do anything but kiss me? The reason is because she could double the amount of money she's given to the guy kicking back to her. You have no idea how crooked Atlanta and Fulton County is. Told you that in 2020. And I told you in 2020, the Democrats were very smart in the way they picked the cities where they were going to fix the election. Philadelphia, right? Detroit, Atlanta. Right.
I mean, Nevada, they're always cheating. Clark County,
Maricopa County.
Maricopa County, Phoenix. Nevada, they always cheat.
Nevada. And
I mean,
they really had two in Wisconsin.
Milwaukee and Madison.
Yeah, they're near each other. Milwaukee, you're very good. Milwaukee and Madison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good, man.
Now, here's what they all have in common.
Yeah, hold that up.
These are democratic dictatorships. These are not democracies, these things. So, for example, the judge from Cook County, which would be on this list, but they're not, they weren't involved in the election. The judge from Cook County that decided all on her own to take Trump off the ballot is really an appointee of the Democratic hacks from the Democratic Party. She was a traffic court judge a couple of years ago, and they selected her for the next level court, which gets her to interpret a constitution I'm sure she's guessing at, and is going to do what the party wants, because the party is going to be the source of her next appointment. You say, well, she's elected, but please stay with it beyond the attention span of a child who gets their first play toy. Just think of the following. She got elected unopposed. Judge Engelmoron in New York has run 3 times for office. Never had an opponent. That's the norm in the crooked democratic cities like this. That's why in a political case, unless you get a moral giant, they're going to go with the Democratic Party.
Hold that up again, yeah. Take a picture of it.
The cases against Trump should all be thrown out because he doesn't have a single Republican.
Did you put, yeah.
I mean, they're doing the same thing with these phony cases. The cases are in New York, in Washington, in Atlanta, and then they got one somehow in Fort Lauderdale, which they tried to get out of there. They tried to take it to Washington, D.C., like they did with my case. But I would have gone from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. But so Fani, I think she's in a lot more trouble than just this. I don't know how the judge avoids this, except for the lawyers didn't call it to his attention. You got to know what it means. Does she steal campaign funds? I mean, she had to have an explanation of how she had so much cash so she could pay him, $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 for these trips. Usually you would see if that happened, right? You'd see somebody go to a cash machine and take out $2,000 or $1,000. There'd be a trail. Ain't no trail. Ain't no receipts. But back in her campaign, she must have taken a big bundle of cash. Maybe they did it the way they used to do the phony ballots, get all the big cash. And she kept it in her apartment. Except it wasn't her money. Campaign money is not your money, Fat Fanny. It belongs to the people. And if you take it, you're what's known as a crook. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky enough to get prosecuted. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get prosecuted by, maybe you'll be lucky enough to get prosecuted. Yeah, you want to buy one? Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get prosecuted by the DA in what was that? Is that Clark County or Athens County? Is it Athens Clark or Clark Athens? Athens Clark County, who hasn't gotten a conviction in 4 years. Is this a general problem in Georgia? What do you think, Ted? Have you ever heard of a DA that has not had a conviction in 5 years?
And she's been sued in the past, it
Sued
appears,
for what?
for not being able to fulfill her duties.
She
She was sued in 2023.
When you say she hasn't, does she prosecute anybody? Okay. Well, there's going to be plenty more about this. The real question is, does this judge have the integrity in a city that he's a Democrat? His future lies with the Democratic Party. I don't want to get too excited about it. I don't want to get too unrealistic about it. I'm anything but unrealistic. He seemed like a decent man, but his whole career, he rules for Trump. He ain't going nowhere in the Democrat Party. Any dreams this guy had of, I guess he's a trial judge, of being an appellate judge or being on the Supreme Court, and all these guys, that's why they do it, to go up. And that's why they do the crooked opinions, because they don't go up unless if you have a state that is one-party state and has been for an appreciable period of time, you are in a corrupt state. You really understand that, don't you? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. You know that. You don't need an old corruption prosecutor to tell you that, right? Do you? Unfortunately, the old corruption prosecutor is getting prosecuted by one of these crooked prosecutors. So we're gonna finish with something that we're gonna push over, because the weekend's coming up, to about a 20 to 25 minute special where I'm going to explain to you. Well, we're going to do two. We're going to talk about the Israel-Ukraine double standard. We're going to try to answer the question: why does this crooked administration want Israel to have a ceasefire with Hamas, as they appear to be on the verge of victory? And they want Ukraine to continue to fight with no plan for victory, just a plan for another 100,000 dead with precisely the same results. I've heard of in all of this discussion by the demented one. Have you heard what the purpose of this money was? Is it to move the goalposts? Are we going to gain 10 yards? And most importantly, because I don't know. They may be. There's no accountability for this money, and we get answers that aren't true. So that gets me even more nervous. So Bolton the other day said, "Well, you don't have to worry about that because it's all arms." No, it's not. 47% of the money is financial aid. So come on, find another one, okay? The second one we're going to do is Putin's goals, because the answer to what we do about this is not easy. The isolationist right wing of my party is simplifying it too much. The interventionist, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, cocktail party, useless ass lickers are making it into it's the end of the world if Russia, prevails. We cannot dismiss it completely. There are consequences to the arrangement or deal that seems the most obvious and the easiest one to do. It is not going to be without torment and future difficulties. And if we enter it, I really wish we think it out and we don't do Afghanistan and get all sorts of people killed because we didn't think it out. Is it possible that Biden could go somewhere and find some people with an IQ above 101 or something to work on this? Because this is a very complicated issue. Putin, I'm going to just show you, give you a little taste of this, okay? Just a teeny taste, because I've been doing a lot of work on this, and I really want to make sure I have it all right for you, my favorite people. I love all you. You know that. You see that little country right there? Can you see? Can they see that?
Yeah, Moldova.
Moldova. Now, Moldova, you can see it's a small country. It's hard to see where it all fits, but it's right next to Ukraine, right over next to Romania. The Moldovan government right now appears to be a very, very effective president, and she is very nervous about a Russian attempt to take that red area there. You see the red area there? That's Transnistria. Transnistria is a breakaway region of Moldova. They do not want to be part of Moldova. They do not want to be part of Romania, which is a possibility, because Moldova and Romania have occasional, if not more than occasional, talks about coming together. It has now reached a point where it's kind of serious, almost at about 42%, and particularly under the present president of Moldova. So that's a possibility. However, the people of Transnistria, led by a pro-Putin guy, wrote to Russia within the last several days saying they're being mistreated, they're being horribly treated, they need help. Obviously a setup. So that's just one little example of the little things that Putin has placed out there for him to follow up on like that if we do an agreement. We'll go into more detail because you're going to see the same thing in Belarus. He's been dying for Belarus for a long time. Now there he has an opposition from the dictator. He wants to be his own dictator. And it's not that Belarus is going to do any better or any worse under Russia. They got a pretty bad guy there now, but he wants to be his dictator. And then they've got real concern about the Balkan states, which begin with the one that is the least favorable to Russia. And as they move up north and actually border more with Russia, they become a little more favorable. And that's, of course, Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia. Now, my daughter-in-law, who I consider my daughter, please understand that, comes from Lithuania. Her family is in Lithuania. Andrew, we'll have Andrew on to talk about this as well, because Andrew spent a lot of time in Lithuania. I can't speak for I can't speak for Estonia, but I can speak for Lithuania through them and a little bit for Latvia. They want no part of Russia, particularly now. When I was there before this broke out, I think it was Georgia had happened, but not this. They wanted no part of Russia. But Russia's got real designs on them. And I'm also going to try to explain to you that Putin's idea, and everybody gets it wrong because they get simplistic. Putin's idea is not to recreate the Soviet Union. He doesn't want Poland, or not yet. He wants to recreate the Tsar's empire. But what he would consider to be traditional Russia. Now, the Ukrainians don't think it's traditional Russia. The Moldovans don't think so. Obviously, the Lithuanians despise that idea, but he does. So this is something that has to be thought of, because one of the things wrong with this administration is they either don't think of the next step, or the next step leads toward communism. So we're going to go into a little bit of detail, a couple of fine points there. And I don't know if we can get this over into next year at this time, you'll get a really good solution, because they won't be able to push around a weakling. Well, at least we'll be represented by a great president. Well, thank you very, very much for tonight. I'm going to end as we began, with thoughts about Laken Riley and about her family. I found it difficult last night going to sleep, because you think about how would you react to the loss of your child. I mean, it's impossible for a parent not to go through that when a child is lost. And that, in this case, it doesn't even matter if it's a good kid or a bad kid, or, any kid. Look at that girl, her whole life ahead of her. You can see that nice smile.
Born in 2002, born after 9/11.
Yeah.
And now she's gone.
And imagine her last hour, her last minutes.
That the fact that these people enjoy, I mean, there needs to be more of an outcry, and maybe there is. Maybe we're not seeing it with everything else we're covering.
I always thought it was conservative. Where do they get these crazy? That may have shocked the hell out of me from Georgia.
And the sheriff?
That guy, I think of that guy, the west side of Manhattan.
Yeah, Athens, Georgia. But again, these college towns, it just goes to show these.
But the
these
University of Georgia, like Berkeley.
I've heard that about these college towns. I heard Tuscaloosa, for example.
My son first went to Duke, and he went to Duke because he thought it was somewhat conservative.
No.
He told me, Dad, I don't know.
Chapel,
I'm fighting with all of them. Andrew used to fight with all of them.
And of course, Duke.
Andrew is more of a conservative than I am. Now I've actually caught up with him.
Well, you were the moderate back in 08.
Yeah, but I've actually caught up with him. My kids turned out to be right. But we're gonna get him on. We'll be back in New York, and he'll be there. So we'll get him on very soon on this issue of Lithuania too, because he'll have a lot of good inside information on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he'll know.
And he knows the president, and he knows the people there. They're a very nice country. And Dr. Maria and I and Ted, really, we got to go there.
Well, let's make it.
We got an open invitation to interview the president.
Really?
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
Where is Lithuania as in relation to Moldova? I'll have to look.
No, I'm going to show you. We might as well
show folks before we go here.
See what we got here.
There's Ukraine.
Okay, you got it there?
I see Ukraine is Bulgaria.
Okay,
Belarus is north of Ukraine.
Yes.
Russia.
Belarus is right above Ukraine, on the border with Russia. Lithuania is right above Belarus. See?
There it is.
But I want you to notice something very, very interesting, and it does have an impact on their affinity to Russia.
Okay.
The least affinity to Russia is Lithuania. Notice they have no border with Russia.
Unlike Latvia.
And unlike Estonia, that's above them, and Estonia has the biggest. So if you
Oh, we gotta go.
Estonia has always been the most favorable to Russia. Latvia has always been mezza. And Lithuania has always been viciously opposed. If you want to have some fun and you want to learn the history, read The Hunt for the Red October. The admiral who orchestrates the turning over of the Soviet new submarine to the Americans because he's disgusted with communism. Clancy's one of Kelly's first great novels comes from that big town right there called Vilnius, right there.
Wow.
In Lithuania. And you see, a good deal of Lithuania is on the sea, but Russia, those bastards, right, grabbed a little, they put Kaliningrad right in there. Look at that. You got a little Russia in between Poland and Lithuania because they don't have a border with either. They had to go grab. That's just to drive them crazy.
Yeah.
No, this country fight. And Latvia fight. And I think the other thing is, I think they've had a Kharkiv effect. Kharkiv was very pro-Russian. Now they hate them.
Yeah.
And fought them off successfully so far. When we go through this, we'll show you that. I can tell you my experiences there. So, well, I want to thank you very, very much. We went a little bit over, and we're going to have an active weekend and get out these confidential things to you because I want you to have this background for next week and the week after because this is not just politics. This is serious stuff. And then we have a couple of inside things. We might do another one on that, on the vice president. Just stuff that I pick up. I might as well share it with my friends, right?
Right.
So thank you very much for being with us all week. I'm sorry I had a cold because my voice is probably affected by it. And a little bit of concentration. But when I look at Biden, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And I have this great team, don't I? Right.
We're excited.
Ted and Dr. Maria, my God, they're so good.
And we're just getting started.
And we haven't had Rob, and we haven't had Mike.
No, they've been helping a little bit with some.
No, they're helping with finding
remote
stuff for us.
But we'll be back with them on Monday.
Back with them. We miss them.
So we got a week with them, and at least
We got a nice team, I must say. And it was nice seeing it was nice seeing Lou Dobbs today.
That was
an
cool.
old friend. Well, thank you very much. We always pray for the people of Israel. No reason that we shouldn't. Particularly that Biden is trying to double cross them. We always pray for our own people, of course, first. But we are going to say a special prayer. And I think the appropriate thing is for Laken's family. I look at Laken and she looks like an angel. I just think may the angels escort you to paradise. That's in the Catholic Mass. I remember when I was an altar boy and we reached that part of the funeral services at the very end when they're going to carry the casket out of the church. May the angels escort you into paradise. And the crying would start because all of the Catholics and the mother, the wife, realized it's over now. Okay, this was a beautiful ceremony, but we're taking that body and we're putting it in the ground. First time when I was a kid, it scared the hell out of me. I wasn't sure I'd go back and do it again. But then the lure of being out of class for an hour and a half did it. And I came to love it. I came to love it. And maybe in a certain way, Ted, it prepared me for my 50 or so firefighters and police officers, and then my 300 plus, and comforting and consoling a city. And as someone who worked really hard at doing that, I am so offended at Biden. I mean, it's the kind of thing, maybe because I'm a kid from Brooklyn, when he doesn't mention Laken Riley's name, I'd probably get in trouble for saying that. I'm not going to say it. I'll tell you later. Okay? All right. So you have a great weekend. Try to get to Confidential by Saturday night. You'll get something really nice there.
Yep.
Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria. She's got some really good stuff planned. for Sunday. We love that show. We're going to be back in the studio for the first time in 2 weeks. We'll have to see if they recognize us. Maybe we're fired. You don't know. I'm always offending somebody.
Yeah, no. They love you over there.
And then we'll be back here on Monday, of course. And God bless you. God bless America.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common